Hey, this is Cliff. Welcome to the Culture Law Podcast. Welcome to Washington Law. This podcast is separate from my role as an attorney. However, it is my job to educate and teach and to put it in context for you. And today we're talking about the Idaho murders, specifically about genealogy and how the police use that to potentially arrest the suspect based on this information that they've received. So let's get into it. So everybody wanted to know the motive, why this person did this, how they did it. And really, we don't have much to go on because the police did not come out with a lot of evidence. But frankly, they do that in every case because they don't want to prejudice their case. So hopefully we're going to have some more evidence here coming out. But what we do know specifically is that they've arrested the suspect in Pennsylvania based on what they claim to have as genealogical DNA or data. Now, what I've seen is data, but I don't know if they're using that interchangeably with DNA. Okay, so first with genealogical data is any information about an individual's ancestry or family history that is available to the general public. And typically this as public genealogical data is often collected and maintained by a government agency. So if you have, Ancestry.com or 23andMe or any of these other his databases, they'll give you this genealogical data, which is like military records, they'll say marriage certificates, census records, and you'll be able to use that to kind of build your family tree. And so sometimes that information is then public as people post their family trees publicly. But I'm guessing what happened is they actually had a DNA sample from this individual, and they went to this company and they said this is a matter of national interest, or if they have some other database with all this DNA in there that's public genealogical data. But I'm guessing that's probably what it was. This will probably go to trial and we'll be able to see exactly what they mean by genealogical data and if that is the same as genealogical DNA. Well, we have historically an example of this, and this is the Golden State Killer. The Golden State Killer was named Joseph DeAngelo, who was a former police officer. And I'll get into how that kind of plays into this case and the suspect here in a minute. They didn't even have him as a suspect, the Golden State Killer, at the time when he was arrested. They had no idea who this guy was. And I think, the Golden State Killer was one of the most prolific killers in the history of the United States, if not the most. And then he was essentially caught and tried and was convicted based on genealogical data. And similar, I think that they didn't actually have the Golden State Killer's DNA in the DNA database voluntarily, but what they did is they used somebody else's DNA who he was related to start eliminating suspects. And it sounds like the police officers did the same type of methodology to eliminate suspects in this case. And so they found somebody's DNA who was closely a relative to the person, and then they started eliminating them based on probably people who were in the area at that time. Forgot to ask again, but if you could click the like button, smash the thumbs up down there at the bottom of this video, we can beat the YouTube algorithm. This investigation concluded rather quickly because they had this genealogical data, even if they didn't have much else to go on. The article that I was reading said that this technique has been a boon for criminal investigations who have used it to identify hundreds of persons of interest. Now, I'm going to guess it's probably more than even hundreds at this point, because we have all of these cases that we could not identify before, and because we have the genealogical data, we've essentially taken this really small database, which is the FBI database, blood sample, semen, of the typical identifiers, and we've now been able to really explode the database based on the people voluntarily doing this and putting it in there. Now, I don't think they're using this for theft cases and, cases where people are peeing on buildings or, cases that are not matters of national interest, but matters of national interest like this, where it's a serial type of murder. The idea is that we're going to need to, take the national interest over the the privacy of the individuals, which that's a whole nother thing. You could go on for a long time talking about that. Interestingly enough, the suspect in this case had taken a serial murder class at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. Now that's interesting, and why that is interesting is because from the very beginning of this investigation, we've been hearing that this is likely an organized type of murder, that he may have planned this out, because there was two individuals in an attached part of the house that had no idea what was happening and didn't hear anything about the murder. In that situation, the police were thinking this was probably just not like a heat of the passion type of incident where the person was just wrong place, wrong time. He likely knew what he was doing. I will note further, they had talked to this individual's aunt, and she had said that he had likely had OCD, that he, had some kind of interesting things with his diet, that he would not eat meat, but not only that, he would make sure that if there was any meat in a pan, he wouldn't use that pan. So they had her get totally new pans for the house. That doesn't sound that crazy probably for some people, but just to give you some insight as to, this person may have been, more of an organized type of murderer. A person's attorney, I probably would say for the video, has said that he's, maintaining his innocence, and that he's going to be excited to prove that he was not the murderer. But we'll see how this plays out. I mean, hopefully this case is broadcast publicly, and we'll be able to watch the trial and see exactly what they mean by the DNA evidence. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.